Continuing on our theme of talking about quick service restaurants, I thought today we would talk about the largest pizza restaurant in the world, or perhaps just the US. Do you know who it would be? Well, what about this? What if I tell you that in addition to pizza, they're also one of the largest hot dog sellers? Now, I'm sure you're thinking pizza and hot dogs, who could that possibly be? Well, it's actually Costco.
I may go do a Google search. Every person's like, try Costco, No!
Not only is one of the largest pizza retailers, they're one of the largest wine retailers, one of the largest organic food retailers, one of the largest hot dog retailers, and a few other categories.
My favorite place to dine.
In addition, I'm sure you guys have all heard of the Kirkland brand, but did you know sales of the Kirkland brand are larger than the total sales of Macy's and Nordstrom combined? In addition to low prices, Costco, there are just a ton of amazing facts about that company, and I want to share those with you today, partially because of Black Friday, and I'm sure you guys are going to be looking for low prices, and who knows, maybe you want to give Costco a try this Black Friday. Depending on what you consider to be the first store, Costco got started either in the late 70s or the early 80s. The actual first branded Costco store was actually in 1983. What's amazing to me is only 2 years later, in 1985, the company went public with 17 stores at the time and somewhere around 1,000 or 2,000 employees. Fast forward to today, and the growth story is literally amazing, at least it is to me. Over 850 stores worldwide, with about 500 in the US, 304,000 employees, 125 million members paying, $60 to I think $120 a piece, somewhere in that range, with over a 90% renewal rate on the membership. Those are huge numbers. And additionally, if you look at the company's growth prior to the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic, there's so much talk about theft and how it's hard to be a retailer in today's environment, in the Amazon world or whatever. But man, here's a company that's not just surviving, they are thriving. Being a big box retailer, naturally there will only be so much competition just because the barriers to entry in establishing a store of that size. The two primary competitors are Sam's Club and BJ's Wholesale Club. At least in terms of the US, there are roughly the same number of warehouses for Costco and Sam's. I think Sam might have 5 to 10 more. That's quite a bit larger though than BJ's. BJ's only has, I think, 215 warehouses in the US. I will say that, you read about wholesale clubs, and, at least my experience is that any article you read is going to say that there's not a ton to differentiate between the three stores, except, definitely in terms of number of units when it comes to BJ's. There are differences like the return policy and the membership classes and, some of the credit cards associated. But, what's weird is that if you read all those stories, it talks about how similar they are. My impression is that Costco is a brand that people care about and they're almost passionate about. So it's kind of a disconnect. Why would customers be so passionate about a company that a lot of people think isn't really differentiated from its competitors? That's where I would take a stand or have a different opinion. I definitely think Costco is differentiated amongst its competitors, and I have 4 reasons why. When you read the articles about Costco or Sam's or whatever, they all talk about how the prices for all three are very competitive and they are very low. But a lot of times they don't really dig into why. And so I think it's an interesting question to explore. Are Costco's prices really low, or is it just the brand associated with the company that helps give them a halo, if you will? Well, sure, there might be some of that, but there are very definable reasons as to why and how Costco is able to keep its prices low. The first one I want to talk about is the pricing model. I don't know that this type of information is shared from any other large retailer, but it's easy to find in the press that Costco's pricing model is that they will only mark up prices no more than 14% over the price they pay and 15% for Kirkland signature items. That is a very skinny markup. I've worked in 2 different retail operations, and both of those had over a 100% markup. markup. So a 14% markup is pretty skinny, really. Another interesting way that Costco tries to keep its prices low is through vertical integration. Now, we mentioned pizza and hot dogs at the beginning, but another item that they sell a ton of and is actually a loss leader for the company is rotisserie chickens. I don't know how long they've offered rotisserie chickens, but as long as they've offered them, my understanding is that they've always been $4.99. Well, those chickens are very popular. So popular that Costco had trouble sourcing them. What they ended up doing is actually vertically integrating and buying a farm to produce those chickens so that they could get not only the quantity, but also the quality of the chickens they needed. It's a pretty interesting development from my perspective. Other retailers going out there and buying a poultry farm so that they can continue to offer their customers a $4.99 rotisserie chicken? Heck no, they're just gonna raise prices and try to make more profit off of the customer. That's perhaps a jaded view, but I think that that's what a lot of retailers would do. Another great example is around Coca-Cola. Come on, Coca-Cola, one of the strongest and most recognizable brands in the world. Buffett loves Coca-Cola.
I like this one.
How can you get stronger than Coca-Cola? It's hard to say that you could. And most retailers would do anything they could to preserve a relationship with that brand because of how popular it is. Not Costco. In 2009, Costco temporarily stopped selling Coca-Cola products because they didn't feel like they were getting low enough prices from Coca-Cola. Now the situation resolved shortly after with no press releases as to whether or not prices were lowered, but given Costco's steadfast commitment to low prices, I think it was Coca-Cola that felt the pain there and decided to lower prices so that they could get their products back on the shelves. Now, when you talk about warehouse clubs, Costco does have a number of other differentiating factors that help it stand out from a competitor like Sam's or BJ's. I really think there are at least four primary ways that Costco differentiates itself. The first one we've talked about, the loss leader items like the $1.50 hot dog and soda, and that soda has unlimited refills, by the way, and it's been $1.50 forever, at least according to what you read in the press, and the rotisserie chickens. Another differentiating factor is the return policy. The return policy is very similar to what you might find at a Nordstrom, for example. No receipts are required. There is a limitation on electronics and maybe cell phones, but outside of that, pretty much return whatever, whenever, no questions asked. The third one, we've talked about the Kirkland brand. I wouldn't say that that's super unique because there are a lot of companies that have in-store brands. I mean, Walmart does, Sam's Club does. However, I think the unique part here is that there's actually a lot of value in that brand, and people think very highly of any product that bears that brand. Most consumers see Kirkland on a product, they assume it's a very high quality product, which is pretty unique for a house brand.
It's comfortable, it feels pretty smooth to the touch.
Yeah, I feel
one of the better things I have in my closet.
Yeah, this is definitely a higher quality crew neck sweater for sure.
However, what I think is really novel, especially in a store like Costco, is that there's this concept of a treasure hunt experience that shoppers really enjoy. I didn't notice this the first time I went into a Costco, but Costco's typically, or maybe never, have aisleways marked with what's in the aisle. There's no signage or whatever. You kind of just gotta find the product that you need, and maybe that means going up and down 5, 10, every aisle in the store. And even if you have a good memory for store layouts, that's not gonna do you much good because they move around products a lot. And on top of that, they do a lot of limited runs. I'm not gonna call Costco tell you that it has a similar experience to like a thrift store, because I mean, come on, going to a thrift store is a lot different than going to a Costco, but there are still some elements that give you that treasure hunt experience, because you might find this product that you really love and you want to buy it for a long time, and dang, the next time you go, it's not there, and you're kind of left wanting, and you keep going back to Costco hoping to find that product again, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. But regardless, I mean, sure, there's some disappointment sometime, but I think the disappointment is overshadowed by the thrill, if you will, of finding a really great deal or a really interesting product or a really tasty food product or something like that. Sam's Club and BJ's Wholesale don't have that unique experience that really drives not just customer satisfaction, but it makes them want to come into the store, it makes them want to look at all the aisles, and that's a great thing for a retailer. If you have customers that just want to come into your store and look at every aisle to make sure that they're finding all the good deals. When you think about why Costco members are so loyal, and remember, over 90% renewal rate on memberships, which is pretty good in my opinion. I think you first have to look to some of the differentiating factors that we talked about before as to why they are so loyal. When you think about a shopper at a wholesale club, value is first and foremost. A shopper there wants to get the most value, okay? Pretty obvious, right? And I think the typical expectation or definition, if you will, of value was simply the lowest price. Relatively logical assumption to make. What's different with Costco though is I think they've changed the value equation. It's not just lowest price. They've demonstrated that they've been very effective at keeping prices low. So there is the low price component. However, it's the low price that is blended with some of the other features. Some of those features being, the loss leader items, the return policy, the treasure hunt experience. So now all of a sudden, you don't have a value equation that is simply tied to price. It's a value equation that incorporates price, but also has these other factors that combine to, again, create this new formula or definition of value. I think that's very powerful and a huge reason why Costco has the loyalty that it does. In a nod to a prior video, there is one other aspect of the warehouse model that all three of these retailers has going for it. Again, all three of these retailers charge a membership fee. And in the terms of, for Costco, what's interesting is about 70 to 80% of the company's net income is actually from that membership fee. So even though those membership fees in terms of magnitude of dollars is relatively low, their margins are so low that membership fee actually turns out to be a large source of their profit. Regardless, the membership fee is interesting because that actually will trigger within a person a desire to go there. And why is that? Well, it has to do with the influence concept called commitment or consistency. If somebody makes small steps or makes a small commitment to doing something, they're more likely to continue doing that. So by signing up for a membership at Sam's or Costco or BJ's, it triggering this desire within you to further that commitment and be consistent to taking that small action by actually shopping at the store. Now, who's to say? Is that a driving factor? I honestly can't say that it is, because I think people, especially for Costco, again, like the treasure hunt experience, and they like the $1.50 hot dog and soda. I do think it's interesting because it ties directly to that concept of commitment or consistency, and I don't think we can entirely ignore it. Now, if you'd like to learn more about influence in general, not just the commitment consistency principle, be sure to click on the link below or check out the full video that we have linked in the comments. In addition to what I would expect to be continued growth for the company over the foreseeable future, what else is next for Costco? Well, we do know one thing. They're actually experimenting with putting apartments on the top of some of those stores. I think that that's a very interesting development, and I would say it's unexpected, but perhaps taken in the context of the fact that it's Costco, maybe we should expect the unexpected with them. I definitely don't see the membership model changing, due to the revenues and associated from it, and I really like that. It's kind of an exclusive club. And do you know what? I've got some good news for you. You are actually in an exclusive club as well. You're one of the 0.001% that has actually made it to the end of this video. Congratulations. Now, that's not gonna get you a Costco membership or even a cup of coffee, but I would love to hear your thoughts about what you liked about this video and perhaps what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching.